Good morning. About a 2-minute warning and we'll get started. All right, good morning. If you'll take your seats. All right, so welcome to the 15th Annual Mayors Roundtable. My name is Kim Stinger. I'm the Courts Division Director for the Polk County Clerk of the Court. I am also have the honor of serving as Chair of the Polk Vision Government Advisory Team. First and foremost, want to thank all of you for carving out time to be here both in person and virtually. We appreciate that. And want to take a moment to give a special thanks to our Polk Vision board members and to our event sponsors today, Advent Health, Citizens Bank and Trust, and Tampa Electric. We have a few people. Well, in addition to those on the stage, we do have some elected officials with us today. If you'll please rise and allow us to give some gratitude for your leadership and service to the community. So before we get started, we do have a little bit of housekeeping to do. For those in the audience here live, if you will mute your phones, but please keep them handy so that you can text questions to our mayors. The number will be posted on the screens, 863-225-4652. And this event is one of a series that Polk Vision puts on each year. In addition to, we have the State of the County, and then we have the annual Polk Vision's annual meeting. Making sure I covered everything. It's now my pleasure to welcome our host today, our president of Polk State College and immediate past chair of the board of directors for Polk Vision, Dr. Angela Garcia Falconetti.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Polk County. Good morning. All right. You know, I was talking to good friends here this morning, and they asked, who's the best mayor of Polk County? What's the answer? They all are, right? So thank you so much, mayors, for everything you do for our county, for your leadership, and welcome to your college. Good to see you, Katie. I know I have the opportunity to introduce Katie Worthington-Decker momentarily, but it's great to see everyone this morning. Just a quick little commercial about Polk State. So within this facility, I don't know if you're aware, but we initiated with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, and of course our wonderful Sheriff, Grady Judd, a National Innovation Academy. It is one of 3 National Innovation Academies in the country We've housed over 150 students from 21 states right here, taking mid-level professionals in the law enforcement field and moving them up in their trajectory of work. So it's a very exciting program, a national model. We're thrilled to house it here. In addition, our emergency management services, EMS, medical services, our students graduate with a 100% pass rate. We're very proud of them. And our criminal justice program is also housed here in this facility, our bachelor's degree, in addition to one more touting item, because it's very important. Our faculty and staff work so hard to ensure that our students are successful. Our law enforcement academy, otherwise known as KC TIPS, 100% pass rate. So when you look at return on investment of what we do here, the great faculty and staff, we are making a difference, but it takes a team. It takes great leadership. So I want to thank you, mayors. Thank you, Kim Long and Polk Vision, for everything that you do. And just again, welcome to your college. And at this juncture, I have the opportunity to introduce the wonderful, fabulous Katie Worthington Decker, who's going to be our great facilitator today. Welcome to your college, Katie.
Thank you very much, Dr. Falconetti. Yes, we are so excited to be here at Polk State College today in this beautiful facility, and thank you for your hospitality. Again, my name is Katie Worthington Decker, and I am honored to serve as the Vice President of the Orlando Health Foundation here in Polk County, serving the needs of the new Orlando Health Watson Clinic, Lakeland Highlands Hospital, opening in the summer of 2026. So thank you to my team over there for attending today. I am also so pleased to be back at this table. This event is one of my favorite events of the year because it really speaks to Polk County's dedication to dialogue and to continuous learning. The Mayor's Roundtable is a Polk Vision tradition aimed at expanding collaboration and raising awareness of issues impacting all of Polk County. Before we begin, I would like to remind those of you in our live audience to mute your phones, but keep them handy so that you can text your questions to the number on the screen, which is 863-225-4652. As the conversation progresses, feel free to text your questions, and we will do our best to ensure those are answered. At this time, I would like to invite Mayor Bill Mutz from the City of Lakeland to lead us in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Good morning. Let's pray. Father, it is a humbling opportunity for us to be able to gather here together, to be able to be public servants in an arena where we have the opportunity to hear needs and hearts, to think about growth and opportunities, and in a time where sometimes polarization can isolate some of the things that might be centered more on the good of the whole. And so give us clarity, give us the opportunity to be encouraging to one another, give us the opportunity to think beyond our own limits to the kinds of things that you can provide to trusting hearts and to trusting servants. And we ask all these things in your precious name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated.
Thank you, Mayor Mutz. A couple of quick housekeeping items for our mayors. Please keep the mics on and remember to talk directly into the mic because this is the only way that the audience will be able to hear you as well as our viewers at home. And since the mics will always remain open, please be sure not to have any hot mic moments today. So just want to remind you of that. No side conversations. And finally, this event is being live streamed and recorded by our producing partners at PGTV. And I would now like to invite all of our mayors to introduce themselves. And since we have had such a good turnout today, I'm going to ask that we limit the introductions to just 3 things: your name, the municipality you represent, and the year you were first elected to the commission. And no other comments. You will have plenty of time to make comments today. Mayor Hatch?
Thank you. George Hatch, City of Mulberry, and I think I was elected in 2010. Not 100% sure.
Mac Fuller, Lake Alfred, Florida, and I was elected in the commission in 2021.
Morris West, City of Haines City, elected in 2016. Tanya Tucker, City of Bartow, the capital city, and I was elected in 2021.
Bill Mutz, Lakeland, 2018.
Joe LaCascia, Polk City, 2010.
Rick Wilson, Polk County Commissioner, 2018.
Nathaniel Joe Birdsong Jr., City of Winter Haven, elected in 2002.
Michael Hutto, City of Frostproof, elected in 2018.
Dorothea Taylor Bogert, and City of Auburndale, and I was elected in 2017.
Good morning, Samuel Berrien, City of Fort Meade, the oldest establishment in Polk County, elected in 2019.
Phyllis Hall, Mayor of Town of Lake Hamilton, 2025.
Donna Fellows Coffee, I'm Commissioner for the City of Davenport, standing in for our Mayor, Bryn Summerlin, and I was elected in 2023.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So at this time, we are going to dive into the content of today's session, but I would like to remind all audience members that if you do have any additional questions, feel free to text those in. As you do, I may combine some of your questions if they are of a similar subject, so please do not get offended if I do not read your question verbatim. Prior to today's session, I had an opportunity to speak with many of our mayors and really understand what those issues are that were common between our many municipalities. And so I want to start with one which will surprise none of you because it has been a central theme of this roundtable for the last 5 years, and that is of growth, especially given the rapid growth that we've experienced in this post-COVID era. And many leaders acknowledge the challenges, but feel things like, we can never get ahead of it, or how are we ever going to make an impact with the level of authority that we have. So I'd like to focus on the things that we have been able to accomplish over the last 5 years. So think in your minds, what action has your municipality taken to address growth-related challenges, such as water, roads, or infrastructure over the last several years? And I will start with Mayor Mutz.
Oh, good. Well, of course, this is one of the biggest challenges that we have within the county and the city, and the funding for it, and the courage to do the things in advance that need to be done as we go forward, and the shared investments that we need to see happen as a result of some of the growth that we are wanting to entertain, and the smart planning that comes from our community development departments. We have been strained in Lakeland in the areas of sewage primarily, and even deciding on where we can put some things that require a lot of water until we make some of the modifications, and then of course traffic. And so when we think about Dixieland, as I will give as an example, which is our lane realignment program in the cooperation with FDOT, one of the things we are working on as a city is to advance that project ahead of FDOT's schedule by working on a plan where we as a city fund it early, and then the repayment comes when it will actually hit the transportation plan later. Those kinds of accelerations are going to be necessary. We look at any project that we are trying to expand, as in our sewage expansion, by the time we're done with engineering, and by the time we take a look at what is fully required, we went from a speculation of about an $18 million project to a $36 million project. And that kind of a load, that kind of planning really emphasizes why it's so important for us to have appropriate reserves, appropriate millage, and we are the beneficiaries here, and I'm a fiscal conservative, but we are the beneficiaries in Florida of very, very low taxes. But we are also people that have very, very high expectations. And you've got to match those two things. So either we lower our expectations or we do a little bit of both, which is to raise the opportunity to fund projects that are necessary, while we also have some more patience in terms of the delivery. And we need to do this as we're attracting multifamily housing, as we're attracting industries and businesses. And so we work very, very hard to do that, because we have to have both a place for people to work as well as a place for people to be able to be employed. And it's incremental steps. We all have this same pressure, but those are two of the biggest areas for us to be able to try and get some things that are very, very notable to the public.
Thank you. And I apologize, mayors, I didn't indicate. If you would like to address a question, please either raise your hand or you can turn these steakhouse-style red and green signs to let me know that you would like to address a question. Very good. Is that you trying to address a question, Mayor Birdsong? Okay, feel free.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that we have been facing for years is the growth.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, everybody else did it but him.
Honey, I'm busy now.
Is the growth. And so I've been on the commission for a long time, and the problems with that are created by growth haven't just been created in the last 5 years for us. We have looked at the growth and development and the expansion of our city and what we need to promote for future generations. And so when we looked at that, there are areas that growth creates: the need for better roads, the need for more water, the need for more services. Those are things, the need for more housing, the need for more parks. All of those things are intertwined into the standard of living that we would like to promote and have in the city of Winter Haven, not just for the people that are here now, for generations. So what did we do? We've done a lot of things. First and foremost, one of the biggest challenges that you face with more people is what I get every other week. You got to do something about the traffic. You got to do something about the traffic. So what can you do about the traffic? First and foremost, like most municipalities, the roads in our municipalities are not really even owned by us. So what can you do? You can work with the people that own the roads to make improvements. So in Winter Haven, 2 of our major intersections, Highway 17 and Cypress Gardens Boulevard, and First Street and Cypress Gardens Boulevard, working with DOT, we got some tremendous improvements that will eliminate some of the congestion. Now, on our local roads, what we did as a city is we developed on an annual basis in our budget an allocation to improve our roads. And so scientifically what we did is did an absolute survey and GIS of all of the streets in the city of Winter Haven, assessed them, and also look at which ones need to be done and taken care of first. And so we have a plan where we are improving our streets, the pavement, that sort of thing. Another thing,
One more
you
thing.
know, I know, now see, Katie, you know me. You know, I'll take all of the time. You know that. So you
Yeah, we only
gotta
have 2.5
reel
hours.
me in. You gotta reel me in. You gotta reel me in. You gotta reel me in.
One more example, Mayor Birdsong.
Okay. All right. One more example, and I'll let this be my final one, is on first responders and services. One of the things that we knew is that as your city grow and develop, you your request for, say, like fire services are expanded. You have more calls, and you have to get places fast. So we did an assessment of how long it took for the fire stations that we have, how long it takes to respond to the areas that they have, and we wanted to reduce that. So the plan was developed. We said, with what we have, we need at least 2 new fire stations. And so I'm pleased that we broke ground and completed and installed a new fire station in Winter Haven so that our response times to any first respondent need is shortened. And so, all right, I could go on and on.
Thank you.
But
Thank
I'll
you very
leave it
much,
at
Mayor. Mayor Bogert?
Oh, thank you, Katie, and it's always a delight to be here with you. I think addressing growth is, we were just talking about that earlier while we were preparing to come out here. One of the things that Auburndale has done, which I thought was, and Mayor Mutz picked up on a lot of things we have to deal with, but we have a unique LDR in Auburndale, and it's called our Lakes District. And it was something that we spent, I think we started in, actually before I came on board, they had started talking about it in 2017, where they designed our entire North Auburndale area so that it was master planned to have a better idea of what we were going to expect coming in. I think there were 2,800 parcels that we brought in under that approximately, and where we were going to have possibly village centers to meet, maybe multifamily, townhomes, that type of thing, and putting things in the smaller lots and the bigger lots, and even an estates area of it, and then working, and we have a wonderful partnership with Polk County, and working on getting some of the roads, because that's the number one thing when you do anything like this is traffic. And so putting into place and maybe working with the county in a couple of areas to start the planning early to expedite, because we all have budgets and we all have needs to get these things done, and possibly we even have a light that we put in on 559, which is one of our major roads going from Auburndale to I-4, and we paid up front to do that so that we would have better traffic. And then we had a great agreement with Polk County to handle that because it's their road. And so I think planning is the key to that. And I think if people begin to understand and they have the ability to have input on that, because we had probably 4 or 5 public meetings on that where they came, like even putting little dots where they wanted things on the planning of the city. And so I think that helps them to buy into that growth. You know, I grew up in Auburndale, and everybody wants me to go and plant orange trees again, and which I would love to do. I miss the orange trees too, but they begin to understand that, you know, with the property rights and things that go along that, and a lot of that has to do with educating our citizens about. I mean, anything we could talk about, right? I think today, especially with property taxes, everything is our citizens understanding what we do, how we do it, and why we do it.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in depth. Mayor Fuller, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. In Lake Alfred, one of the things that we have recognized, obviously, is the same thing everybody else has here, is the growth. We're probably one of the smaller towns, but growing very rapidly, that have access to I-4, and we still feel our new homes that are going up in Lake Alfred are somewhat more of a cheaper home to build, not cheap in materials, but just lower cost, affordable housing for the people that not only live in our area, but who are working in Orlando or Tampa. And that's where we need, you know, that whole I-4 corridor. And as Dorothea mentioned, you know, the 559, we've got 557. 557 is going to be 4-lane from I-4 into Lake Alfred, probably by the end of 29 is what I'm hoping to hear right now, maybe a year earlier, but we're hoping for 2029. We've got over 1,000 new rooftops going out north of town right now, several new subdivisions, and just a lot of that growth, a lot of that is already built and occupied by now. Population in Lake Alfred since COVID is up 50%. It stayed, I won't say stagnant, it stayed steady at about 6,000 for so long, and right now we're at 9,000. And when you turn that key to 9,000 population, people start knocking on your door. Now, here's small businesses, here's big businesses, here's, people more interested in coming into Lake Alfred to establish businesses. We've just received information that we will be getting a Publix, which has been a huge deal for us.
The clouds have opened, the sun is shining. There's like the angels are singing. It's everything's happening.
It's something that everybody's been saying that they've needed and wanted is a Publix and a bank.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're at 6,000, your banks are there, but they don't have the depository to justify staying in there. So we still have the banks in business around town, but not in our town. So that's another thing. We are currently breaking ground next month on a $17 million water plant, our second water plant. It'll be out north of the railroad tracks if you're heading out towards I-4. And glad to say that we're going to name it after our retired water guru in Lake Alfred, John Deaton. And John just retired this past January, but he has worked in our city for years, and it's going to be named after him. And so we're looking forward to that. We've got a new parks to recognize the needs of the growing families and children and stuff. We just opened that in the last month out there. And then, again, everything that's going on north of town right now is just, we're recognizing ahead of time that we do need fire and police on the other side of town. So with a railroad coming through there, you never know when that's going to cause the ability to address an emergency, whether it be an accident or medical or police emergency. So there's a lot of the things that, again, everybody up here, we recognize. Most of the people on this board are partial to our water issues. And I think, again, most of us have an opportunity to meet quarterly at the Polk Regional Water Commission, and we know the problems that we have with water, and I'm sure that
and we're going to
will
talk
continue
about that.
to come up. Yes,
we're going
ma'am.
to talk about that.
So, but I just feel like the size of our town and really coming into its own with our new growth and everything is really putting us on the map. So,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
having been privileged enough to moderate this for a number of years, it's just exciting to hear such a long list coming. That has been facilitated by the level of growth, and really created opportunities for Lake Alfred and many of our communities to
Well,
grow.
so many up here already have it, so they know what I'm talking about. They know what it
exactly.
brings to your town. So again,
Exactly.
we're excited, and again, couldn't have a better group of mayors to work with that gives me the insight of what they faced as they recognize that growth as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you for asking.
Mayor Tucker, and then Mayor West.
I'll make mine real quick. So one of the things that we've done in the city of Bartow is we've recently implemented an asset management program, which has allowed us to plan for the future and the future growth. So everything we have, from our roads to our vehicles to computers to just about anything we have in the city, is now on an asset management program. So it makes it easier, especially at budget time. You know what you're planning for, and not, oh, everything crashed in last year, now we got to replace it. So that's been very beneficial for us. We also are in a partnership with Polk County, and we've recently have started on a fire station up in the north part of the city. And we also actually finally got a location on the east side of our city. So we've been one fire station forever, and now we're at the brink of 3. So that we are anticipating that growth and the response times that are going to be needed for that. So we already have our plan ahead. The other thing, we are beginning a strategic plan for our parks. Also for the anticipated growth. So I think the planning for the future is key for cities, even though it's not here. I know there's a lot of times where you say, you have to wait for the growth to come. Yes, but you can always plan for it.
Absolutely. Mayor West?
Thank you, Katie. I want to just flash back in a little bit, because when you're talking about growth, Haines City has been known for growth. I can tell you now, just a brief history in Haines City. Back in 2004, our population was around 6,000 or 7,000. Then we went in 2016, we went to 20,000. Then I was 2025, and we had 42,000 people in the city of Haines City. So Haines City knows growth, and I'm sitting here today, and I'm advocating for Haines City because Haines City needs some help off of Highway 27, Henson Avenue, which is State Road 600. We've been actively very actively trying to get a commuter rail coming out of Poinciana into Haines City that would probably end up in the Lakeland area, but it takes a village to raise a child. The reason I say that, because that Sunrail is not gonna come unless we get the buy-in of all of the city's 17 municipalities, and including the county and Haines City, to sign a resolution saying that they want this Sunrail. So we're working really hard to offset some of that traffic. That traffic on Highway 27 goes from Miami to Maine. We don't have that traffic in Haines City because it comes through Haines City, but we get blamed for that traffic. So I'm advocating today, we get blamed for it. If you're off Highway 27, every city that's in there get blamed for traffic on Highway 27. But nevertheless, I'm advocating to get something done, and I'm pleading to my colleague here to help. Even though if you live in Bartow or you live in Mulberry, please say, hey, we want to support this Sunrail, because that's what it's going to take to help some of the growth that's happening. Now, Haines City is actively building an EEOC fire station, because in the north end near Advent Health at Heart of Florida, because you can't go nowhere in Haines City because of the traffic. So, and we all know that, one life lost because it takes seconds to get there, and EMS need to get there really, really quick. So we saw a need for an EEOC fire station on our north end. I'm going to be very short here. So we are growing very rapidly, and I'm advocating once again, to help out with the growth on northeast Polk County, which is the fastest growing part of it, even faster than Lakeland now. So just work together as mayors.
Not that it's competition, but yes, it is, and that is true. The northeast section of the county has we've all felt the pressures of growth, and as Haines City or Davenport grow, so does the need for jobs in the area, for the needs for people to get to the jobs in the area. And so the other communities within Polk County certainly feel the pressures of the growth that you've experienced. Do we have, is it Commissioner Coffey? Yes, go ahead.
So in Davenport, our identity has always been being a small town, and we're very proud of that, but our small town's not quite so small anymore. And as we've kind of had a unique perspective of, as we've grown and as we've annexed our borders, to grow our infrastructure with it, not just to meet our current needs, but to anticipate for future growth. So as we've done that, and as we've put in that future infrastructure, we've each time been able to upgrade our old Davenport infrastructures that connect to that particular way, that particular section of town. So while our core old historic Davenport still has some old infrastructure, we've made great strides in getting that up as we've continued to expand in each direction. Our roads, we're getting really close to our power line road extension opening, which is gonna work wonders for our traffic in downtown Davenport. As well as four laning of 1792 is on the horizon. Those two things together will be a game changer for the residents of Davenport. So we're excited about that. Of course, like Mayor West said, we're working very closely with the Sunrail, and always work with our partners at the Citrus Connection, just to find any public transportation options that we can give to our residents, to keep them off the roads and keep them off of 27. We get blamed for that too, maybe not quite as bad as Haines City does, but and then with our water, we all know that water is a big issue, and so while we are active in PRWC and know the importance of that, we're drilling our own wells to try to be able to have our own water, not just to meet the needs of our own residents, but to be able to share it with some of our neighbors that might need it. So, we're all experiencing growth that we couldn't have anticipated, a decade or two ago. But I think we're all making great strides to not just catch up, but to be proactive and meet the needs of our residents for years to come.
Thank you. Chair Wilson?
Thank you. We all hear about the growth. We all know it. When it comes to the county, we just multiply it by a lot because we understand also. We know what's been going on. I can remember back years and years ago, before I was a commissioner, I imagine all the municipalities and Polk County were begging people to come here because there wasn't anybody here. I mean, if you weren't involved in phosphate mining, cattle, citrus, or on the main street, I mean, that's basically what you did for a living. And then things started changing. You know, since I've been here, you know, growth has always been, you know, one of the big players, and it was always said you'll never get ahead of it. Well, that might be true, but we sure try. You know, we see the same thing that all the municipalities sees. You know, transportation. You know, with some of the roads that we've just finished up on, some of that we're under construction right now, roads that are going to be getting started here pretty quick. You know, we're about at $1.3 billion. And what we've done here, what the board has decided to do here within the last short period of time, you know, everybody wants, you know, more roads to move traffic, to help traffic, because everybody gets a phone call from everybody talking about the traffic, how bad it is. Well, we all do. And, you know, but there's one thing that we have kind of made a little bit of a change on is taking care of what we got. We have moved money off our new projects to start putting some on repair and keeping our roadways up, because y'all know it. Y'all ride up and down all the roads. Our roads, state roads, they're in pretty bad shape, and that is from you know, just people wearing them out. You know, so, but the biggest thing is with this growth, you know, not only transportation but safety, fire. We've built, I think it's 8 new fire stations. You know, we got plenty more coming. We've hired firefighters. We've hired a lot of people to take care of this, to be able to service the people in this county. And I know, you know, Grady's been up against the same thing. You know, you want the same amount of protection or care or safety, and but when the numbers explode, you know, it makes it, you know, very expensive. And you know, we want to be safe. And you know, at the end of the day, all the stuff that we talk about up here boils down about money. And that is where we really got to look at what we do, how we do it. There's some things that we want more than others, but that one thing that we might want doesn't make good sense for what we're going through right now. So we look at our board, you know, we're tight. You know, we are tight, but we want to give and make sure that we have the right stuff for the people in this county and the ones that are coming. You know, for the longest time, you know, and it still might be, I got where I tried not to check it as much, but, you know, Polk County, the #1 county in the state, number 4 or 5 in the nation, but, you know, #1 this, #1 that. You know, most of us in our lives, we've always wanted to be #1 in everything we did. That is one I would rather be number 30 or 40 on. So, but I mean, that is the truth. But, you know, we're very blessed to live here in Polk County, I can tell you that. You know, I know y'all do, all the mayors do the same thing. You go to the League of Cities. I just got back from the Florida Association of Counties. You know, all 67 counties, you know, we're sitting around talking. We're in, you know, meetings or whatever, but just sitting around talking. We're blessed. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You know, we've got it pretty well compared to some other counties. I mean, they're fighting amongst each other. You know, their sheriff suing this one and suing the board. I mean, we have a good board. We have good municipalities. We don't always agree, but, you know, we try to do what's best for the county. So I'm gonna start sounding like Mayor Birdsong. I'm gonna hush and
which is highly unusual for you, Gerald.
But you know, everything that everybody's talked about up here. It's a big concern, yeah. And you know, I know that everybody's doing everything they can.
Very good. And Mayor Hall, did I see that you had turned your?
Yes, the town of Lake Hamilton. We've gotten 2 traffic lights on 17 to try to help with some of the traffic, especially on Kokomo Road and 17. and hopefully that'll be in before too long to help alleviate accidents and stuff right there. We're upgrading our utility infrastructure. We're modernizing the water treatment. My problem is the town, of course, is like most places. They don't want any growth. But they won't, I get emails all the time. You need to upgrade the ballpark. You need to upgrade, we need a better park for the kids to play. We need a water splash, or, we need this. You need to do something for the children, which Lake Hamilton has nothing for the kids. It never has. I grew up in Haines City, born and raised in Haines City. Spent a lot of my time in Lake Hamilton due to family living there. And there's not anything for Lake Hamilton. But our old time, people that live there, they don't want any growth. It's, they want commercial. We want commercial, but trying to get it across to them, if we don't have the rooftops, the commercial's not gonna come. Mm-hmm. So we're having a really difficult time with nobody wanting any growth whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And our infrastructure, we need the money for the roads. They're complaining about, our taxes. But if we don't do something, our taxes are going to continue to go up if it's just between what little bit of community that we have.
I think that lends itself to a natural next question on how you as commissions balance the inevitable, the growth, the change, the evolution that comes in every community, no matter whether it's exponential growth or that incremental growth we have by Florida, frankly, being so attractive for people to move to and relocate to. How do you balance the need to manage your community, create a sense of belonging, create a sense of community, with the desire to not change at all? Mayor Berrien, I'll start with you.
Well, thank you for that question. And that is an interesting task that Fort Meade has been tasked with. What we see in Fort Meade is a result of all the growth you hear that is taking place in the northeast part of Polk County. We're receiving a lot of those individuals who are disgruntled with that growth, and they're relocating to Fort Meade, which is still that small, quaint town. And we welcome it. And so what we are tasked with is growing with that drip of growth that we're experiencing and being smart with our infrastructure. So we are focused on increasing our electric infrastructure, where we have the unique, we are uniquely placed to be able to, we own our own electric. And so with focusing on that, and it is the cash cow of Fort Meade, making it more resilient, as well as building, and we just recently approved a development coming. It was fought because we have people that don't want to grow, but when they hear growth, they're envisioning what's taking place in the northern part of Polk County. And so we have to teach, as Dorothea said, we have to continue to educate our constituents that we're not going to be a Haines City. We're not going to be Auburndale. And even Lake Alfred, there I could see where you guys will grow even more fast than what he's mentioned already. But what we need to be able to do is be prepared for that growth once it happens to us. And so that's why we're investing into our water and sewage infrastructure, as well as our electric infrastructure. So we just recently approved a project, a development where we could see an additional 60 units come to Fort Meade. And they are, what I hear, there will be some of the nicer type homes. And so it then offers the ability for individuals to matriculate, ones who have been holding on to their homes for quite a while, but want to remain in Fort Meade, but they haven't had access to any newer units that sort of piques their interest. And so now we have potentially 60 new homes that people can matriculate, and then others move around in those units as we see fit. So we're uniquely placed to partner with the county and neighboring cities to redirect. Hey, Fort Meade can afford to absorb some of that, especially in the economic driver as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So lots of audience questions are coming in as well, the largest stack actually goes right into the next question, which is this upcoming legislative session. So a lot of the things that we've talked about are things that you've been able to do within your purview as a commission, and being able to manage the needs of your constituents, the needs of your community. This week in Tallahassee, there have been some sessions happening around property tax. And, last session, there were some talking points, some legislation that addressed the possibility of eliminating or changing the way property tax is used within our state. And so I would like to get your perspectives on the potential discussions happening in Tallahassee, and how your communities are able to prepare about this discussion. So, and yes, Mayor Birdsong.
I need to get 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Up to 3 minutes.
I mean, that's really a concern for the city of Winter Haven, and I think all the cities, really. In fact, this week, the committee that's putting forth, or going to bring forth, the elimination, revision, or whatever with taxes, is meeting in Tallahassee, and our city manager, T. Michael Starvers, went and addressed that committee, because we are not so sure that our legislatures realize to eliminate property tax, what that would do to facing what we would be facing as cities. For just, I know one of the major points that the city manager made before the committee, you have small, medium, and large cities in the state of Florida. The city of Winter Haven is in the category of medium city. And our ad valorem tax rate, the monies that we raise from those taxes, only pays for our first responders. And you all know who the first responders are: police, fire, EMS. That's all it pays for. That's all. And so you take that away, we don't have a power plant to generate revenues. We don't have a source of income to make up that type of hit. So, are we frightened? We are frightened to death. But I'm optimistic that they will not put forth an effort to totally eliminate the ad valorem taxes, because that's also how the school board gets funded as well. So it's just a major issue, and I do have some other issues with the legislature, but I'll save those since you asked the one specific question.
Thank you.
I'll save those for my next time slot.
Great.
Thank you.
Mayor Hatch.
Thank you, Katie. I think as commissioners and elected officials, we need to have some town hall meetings and educate the public on how this tax issue affects them and our cities. I mean, it takes X amount of money to run each one of our cities, and that money's going to come from somewhere. If it's not coming from ad valorem taxes, it's going to come from fees in other areas. I mean, we've got to pay, in my situation, I've got to pay Grady's guys and gals. You know, I've got to pay Republic. I've got to, you know, all these things that we take for granted. I mean, that the trash will be picked up, that the sewer water has somewhere to go, and that you will get water, and that you have a deputy there to help you when you need it, is going to happen. Well, maybe it won't. And it's got to come from somewhere. We, as elected officials, need to have some town hall meetings and educate our citizens on this. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Chair Wilson.
You know, earlier when I spoke, you know, when I was speaking, I said, you know, it all boils down about money. And that's, you know, we're right back at it again. We don't know what's going to happen right now. You know, I've heard a lot of different stuff. We just don't. But I can tell you this, it's, you know, it's not something that we can lightly look at. It costs money to run this county. It costs money to run these cities. And, you know, as being in the county, I promise you this, no matter what happens, Grady's going to get his money. Fire trucks are going to roll. We're going to, you know, keep everybody safe. And basically what's going to happen is it's going to start trickling down from there. Your parks might not be what they were. There's a lot of things that we just take for granted that might, you know, not be what we've had and what we're used to. And it's, you know, I'm a cattle guy. Used to be a citrus guy before they all died. But I owned a lot of land, and man, not having any taxes, that'd be great. I mean, I really like that. And but that's not how it works. So it's going to be a deal where we call it property taxes, whatever taxes. We're just going to have to come up with something else and rename it. It's going to be a different name. Because we got to have it because you want your services. You know, yeah, we can all cut back, and we all have cut back. We have, the county-wise has. You know, we watch our dimes, but you know, it's something I don't think some people understand how home rule kind of works. You know, I throw that name out there. They're dealing with telling us how we need to take care of our people. Well, it takes money, like it always has. And we'll see what happens. I think our legislators need to get on top of this. And, you know, there might be some things to look at, but if they get crazy, then it's going to get crazy.
Mayor West.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want to reiterate what Mayor had said and about the mayors, because, you know, there's a We Live Local Act, you know, and we live closer to the people here. We live closer. The problem that we're facing now is that, you know, they're trying to, when I said our legislators are trying to govern us from Tallahassee, but we live local. We know what our citizens need. We travel these same roads. We go to these same grocery stores, you know, but it's not happening. So as the mayors, we have to take some action to actually defend this here. Because you got to understand that 70% of our budget, like, you know, it goes, like someone said, to police and fire. So what happened if you eliminate your taxes and you dial 911 and a police officer nor a fire truck shows up to your home, then that's an issue. I strongly encourage everyone that's listening, don't let that property tax fool you. You're going to need that service from our fire and police and EMS. You eliminate it, you're going to eliminate something. You're going to need that infrastructure department. You're going to need their parks and recreation. Something's going to fail. If it's on a referendum just because you want to eliminate your property taxes, when you check yes, you also are checking yes for something else that you're going to lose in the long run. Keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Bogert?
So, thank you. Nobody likes paying property taxes, and we all know that. I don't. I'm in an interesting situation where my property insurance is 3 times my property taxes, and I think a lot of us deal with that too. There are issues out, but that's out of our control. I would like to take a quick moment to give T. Michael kudos. He sat on that board. I watched the Select Committee on Property Taxes, and if you see it coming up, I recommend any of the elected officials to take time to go back and review that. But he spoke with the Florida League of Cities, and he did such a great job of providing clarity and conciseness to what we do and how we do that. And part of that is not only do our citizens not understand what property taxes are used for and how they are used. A lot of our legislators don't, because there might be 10 or so in the entire legislature, Senate and House, that have ever served in a county or municipal level, and so they don't truly understand that. And I can totally get that most people watching the excess and the craziness at the federal level of waste, why they think every government does that, and I don't think they do. I mean, I'm proud to say that the city of Auburndale is the lowest ad valorem in the county, and we have not raised our ad valorem in 8 years. And so we've worked really hard to do that while still planning with our CIP, still planning for an upcoming fire, still planning for things that our citizens have requested, like a splash pad, which are very expensive, by the way. So we need to educate our citizens, and I concur with all of them. We do need to have some form of way, and Florida League of Cities does have some of that information that would be helpful to do. If any of the mayors here would like to reach out to them, I highly recommend it, of how, they can literally tell you how your city is broke down, because they did a lot of research on that. So I would recommend you go out there, but to post it on your webpage, say this is where your money's going. This is how much of all of that property tax you get. This is how much your city gets, and this is what we put it towards, and this is how it's broken down. And I think with that, putting that into place for most of us, because a lot of them don't care. But then they will when they dial 911. Where much like a lot of ambulance services, a lot of people don't call it because they get an after cost for it, $600. Or like, it's going to cost me $600 to call an ambulance. I'm not going to do it. So we want to make sure that everybody's provided for, and we know that everybody's going to be provided for in safety-wise. But it'll be everything else that goes to the wayside, and I don't think citizens realize that.
Mayor Fuller.
Yeah, I want to tag on to pretty much everybody that said the same thing. There's Florida League of Cities is providing all of us with a toolkit that'll help us address these issues with our residents. And the main thing is just getting in front of them, whether it's town hall, whether it's come to our commission meetings. The last 2 months we've been tied up in our budget hearings with all of us. And, I'm proud to say that, our ad valorem is basically staying level. And again, we have to recognize that the property values in Polk County, and especially in the areas that are really taking a big jump, or the larger homes and stuff that are coming up, their property taxes, I'm sure, are going to be substantial compared to a lot of the smaller homes in their downtown area. So not to belabor that whole thing, but that there are tools available to us. So I would contact KC or some of the folks in Tallahassee on that. One thing I did also make note of, several of us are expanding our fire services and things like that, adding fire stations. Along with acquisition of land and building fire stations, which is probably a 2-year process to build them, buy a fire truck. It's going to be 2 years to order that today and get it. And we're on that waiting list right now for our upcoming fire services expansion. But a truck that was $600,000-700,000 2, 3, 4 years ago is $1.5 million. And that's if you can get it. So again, there's a lot to plan for, and I feel blessed that in our particular case here, our city manager is on top of that, and we've planned ahead. And again, planning ahead sometimes still doesn't cover it. And again, being a member of the Polk Regional Water, those numbers they're there for that meeting. The next time we meet, they might be up $4 million on what it's taken. And I know Morris and I are both on the board there, and you know, we see that changing, and it's nothing we can do about it. It's just start figuring your budget out for the next 10 years and adding millions of dollars just for that opportunity to provide water. So it's an ongoing thing, and it's nothing that we're going to solve today, but we need to be looking at it today. And so many of the things that's on our plate right now are planning for 10 and 15 and 20 years down the road. So I just want to say that, you know, it's small things that we do take for granted. The fire trucks, you know, you drive up and down through Ocala, you see, you know, E1, or you see some of these places. They're building stuff that's been ordered 2 years, and the prices, just like everything else, is doubling.
Well, and advocacy, I think part of what is so beautiful about this event is that it gives you all an opportunity to have that dialogue and really have the discussion around pre-session, and remembering that our local legislative delegation are coming home. And this is the time to sit down and to talk to them and to express your concerns, because they are also shopping in our local grocery stores and living here in our communities, and do want to hear from you. And so making sure that your comments and your concerns and your constituents' concerns, this is the time to definitely sit down, and especially coming off the last 2 days, as I'm sure the Florida League of Cities and others will be putting out updated information on that. Mayor LaCascia, I wanted to, yes, hello.
Mayor of the Green Swamp.
Yeah, Mayor of the Green Swamp. So you and I, he's sitting next to me for a reason. So, Mayor LaCascia, you and I had a conversation prior to the event about Polk City, and so I wanted to give you an opportunity to give us an update on Polk City and any concerns you might have coming up into this legislative session.
Sure. Well, our destiny in Polk City is preordained by geography. If you map of Florida and draw a line north and south, east and west, put your finger right there, that's exit 38 on State Road 33, which is the beginning of Polk City. And we have nothing but, well, we have cattle and we have a lot of horses, and they don't vote. But all of a sudden, we have an awful lot of people who want to live in Polk City, and we don't have any problems with growth. I mean, we're looking at 1,000 homes to come that have already been on the books. And what's happening is all of these generational beautiful lands that have been in the families for years, okay, where the generation is leaving it to the younger generation, where they used to keep them in the family, they're selling them. They're selling them for developers who are looking down from helicopters, because I get calls all the time. They're looking down from helicopters and drones, and they're seeing all of this beautiful land, and they're saying, and they're offering these folks millions of dollars for these thousands of acres that they want to build on. And for the first time in the history of probably most of the smaller cities, the families don't want to raise they don't want to deal with the orange groves, they don't want to raise the cattle, they don't want to raise the horses, so they're selling the lands. And we have to deal with that. Part of the problem is we are right in the middle of federal highway, state roads, county roads, and that's about it, okay? And it's very difficult to change any of that, as we've been talking about. But I think enforcement is about the only thing we can do in terms of speed limits, because let me explain that to you. I live in an over 95 community.
Not 95 miles an hour.
Oh, no. It's an over 95 community, trust me. And all of these folks are pulling out onto State Road 33 and Mount Olive Road and Berkeley Road. Well, the traffic limits there are 60 miles an hour. Well, if you can't get an opening and you don't hit that gas, you're going to have somebody running down your back, okay, and it's going to be a problem. And all of a sudden, we have 400 or 500 homes. So figure 2 people in each home that drive. If they have a kid that goes to college, now you got 3 cars leaving at the same time every day. Well, it's a nightmare. And it's going to be very, very difficult to deal with it. So in terms of I'll go through a lot of the things we've spoken about. In terms of the taxes, everybody in Polk City is really pretty happy. We have the services to provide. We have the fire, we have the police, we have the sanitation. The money that we're taking in is plenty to pay for all of these expenses, and we haven't increased. The water rates haven't increased. The electric rates, of course, are Lakeland Electric, but that hasn't increased. None of the costs really have increased, so we've keeping our real estate taxes are the lowest that I've ever seen, and people are not complaining about them because when they go into these over 95 communities, they're coming from homes which have sold, and they're coming from places where their taxes were $15,000 and $20,000 and $25,000 a year in property taxes. My taxes, when I came here, I went from $25,000 a year in property tax, where I live in New York. I came here, my taxes are $4,000 a year. So we're living pretty large, and we don't have any problem with it. So we're not going to grow that fast, mostly because of the green swamp. We are the home of the green swamp, and I have to tell you, that's hundreds and hundreds of acres of the most beautiful land, pristine land, that is an area of critical state concern, and they are making sure that we don't go into the green swamp and build it up, or if we do, there are an awful lot of problems that are put in your way to build. You don't build that quickly, and nobody wants to go through those problems. That is a blessing. So I sit here and listen to all of this, and I feel like I'm almost in a different planet. We are managing everything that we have to manage for the folks. Everybody is happy. The city government is doing well, so I'll leave it at that. Thanks very much.
Way to brag. Thanks. Thank you, Joe. Mayor Hutto?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of play off of that a little bit, and plus I didn't want to sit up here for 2 hours not say anything. And I guess going after Polk City would be, Polk City, a little bit, we don't have the green swamp, but for us in Frostproof, when we talk about traffic, we mainly, Highway 17 divides us on both sides, so we deal with the traffic and a lot of those things, and so the growth, I think somebody spoke earlier about, the taxes, if you got all these taxes, you get rid of ad valorem, what do you fall back on? Well, for us, we're trying to do a controlled growth where we don't put in too many houses. I think in the last 5 years, we built close to 200 homes. Well, now we're trying to slow that down some and spread it out. And for me, being a realtor, at one time, I thought we could build houses on top of houses and bring it all in. But now I'm starting to see where, 17 for us is just packed, where you could go to the grocery store and, try to get out, and now you got maybe wait through 2 of them to get to it. But what I was going to touch on is we don't have a whole lot to fall back on right now because we are trying to control that growth. And being, I guess, in the wrong place at the wrong time, I think we've used the rollback rate. One of my councilmen, Austin, can probably tell you, like 10 years in a row, and in the last 2 years, we didn't use it. So now we're trying to upgrade our fire station, go 24 hours, all those kind of things. So now, if these taxes get taken away, now we're going to essentially go back from not using a rollback rate to not having anything. Well, what else does a city like Frostproof have to rely on except for do away with our growth plan and allow everybody to come in there and then be able to charge them, some other tax or some other living fee to stay in Frostproof. So, and another big problem for us, I think, is the community engagement. Like you said, at Florida League of Cities, you get your tax bill and you see this large number on the bottom, and everybody thinks it goes to the city. And for us, probably 30 or 40% of our houses are under the homestead exemption anyway, so we're not getting a lot of money off of them anyway. So, and I think that's why we brought in the growth, but now with the council we have, city manager, we're trying to, create our infrastructure where we'll get ahead of it a little bit, so we don't have to fight it and lose it and allow those developers to pay a lot and then have to, switch back over to us, causing us more money. So I think we got a good team right now, and we're trying to figure things out. So this has been very informative already to listen to everybody speak.
Thank you. So the next topic is one that we have talked about for several years and has really been a shining example, I think, of collaboration on a very difficult subject, which is that of water. And I remember 15 years ago when I started in community and economic development and a meeting in Orlando, and they show a map of the state of Florida, and it's red, meaning the availability of water if we weren't willing to act to do what we needed to do to be able to provide water for our citizens. And so Polk County got together and formed the Polk Regional Water Cooperative to try to develop those sustainable water sources. But with that, as all things, it comes down to money, right? And so this initiative has continued to move forward and has accelerated in terms of the process. But I am curious, a lot of the theme today has been education, how we are going to educate our constituents on the Polk Water Cooperative, on what it will do for our county and the communities that are engaged with it, and what the impact will be on our citizens moving forward, both from the availability and quality of the water and the cost. See if anyone wants to talk about it. I think, well, we'll go Mayor Birdsong and Mayor Mutz.
Which is really good because both of us chair water cooperative.
3 minutes.
I chair the Southeast Wellfield, which is the largest one that will serve the alternative water needs of most of Polk County except for Lakeland. The thing that I want to say, and I'm going to keep it short. First and foremost, most people in Florida don't think that water would ever be a problem. Not in Florida. We're surrounded by water. And so there's an educational need. But the other thing is that the way we get our water, most people don't know that. They know it comes out of the ground. It comes out of the upper aquifer. And the water management districts have said to us, it's not sustainable. Why? Because as you take that water out, the land will fall, your sinkholes and everything else. So it's not sustainable at the levels that we're pumping. And so the whole idea is to go to the lower aquifer and get water, which is way down, and it's very, very brackish, and it has to be treated. And then we're talking about pipelines right now, as we sit here, that traverse this county, dispersing water. The Southeast Wellfield, which is in Lake Wales, will have pipes that will service the entire east side of the county. Even Davenport, just doing their own little whatever. But the thing is, it's very, very, very expensive. The cooperative did not own all of the land, so we've got to get the land, so there are eminent domains. It's just a tremendous process. My bottom line, and I'm going to end it at this because I know Mayor Mutz will pick it up. The bottom line is that the cheap water that we have today is going to become a thing of the past. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. I think the Polk Regional Water Cooperative represents the kind of leadership and cooperation between cities that exemplifies what we can do well in Polk County, thinking forward a decade. And we're really working on initiatives now that will be transpiring in their effectiveness 10 years from now. And the wonderful thing about this initiative is that it doesn't leave streets that aren't being built behind. It doesn't address the ridiculous consideration of reducing property taxes. Instead, it talks about how we can anticipate and add cost to water development as increments of expenses actually occur. So as the wells are being drilled, as the, we have to pump the sludge back down farther below the lower aquifer, the product that we don't use. So if you pump 13 million gallons a day, 2 to 3 million gallons a day are going to go right back down under that lower aquifer. And so all of those expenses as they are being developed are going to be added to the cost of water. That's going to help with conservation. That's going to help with people thinking about how to use less water in lots of other ways in terms of manufacturing, how to recycle more. And so the opportunities that create higher expenses for the cost of water also reduce the consumption per person of water incrementally as well. But it is the kind of thing that has to be done because it takes almost a decade to produce way in advance of the need. And we're trying to produce at least in the west well field, which is being produced in Lakeland, another 13 million gallons a day. And so that is a piece of the cooperative, and the interconnection is imperative. And the pricing will be actual. So we will be taking audited prices into the individual cities for the amount of the expense to develop that, and then adding that to the cost per gallon of water under existing structures that take place. So we are all going to get more used to more expensive water, but water isn't a variable. Water is a requirement. And so people will move into it. It's just that we will have to think differently about that expense. It is like property taxes. It's insane to think about the elimination of property taxes. It's actually nomenclature, because if you take them away, they just have to be moved to something else as an additional tax. So that's a legislative victory of some kind at the state level, which is an illogical request from our governor to actually think about. And it puts pressure that's unnecessary on the state to not do these kinds of things that are wise increments as we go forward that are going to have to be borne by people anyway.
Mayor West?
Thank you. I don't know if my mic's working sometime, but thank you. And thank you, Mayor Birdsong and Mayor Mutz for being our chairs for those Polk Regional Water Corporate. I serve on that board of the Polk Regional Water Corporate, and I can tell you, and I represent the southeast well field portion of it, and I can tell you that southeast well field that's going to go from Walking Water Road and ends up in Davenport is very important to the East Polk, because right now, as we sit here, a lot of the municipalities in East Polk and beyond, and in the county, actually only have so many MGDs, which is million gallons a day of water that we're allowed it to pump. And most of the municipalities at the time are actually pumping more than they are required. That's why it's important to have that southeast well field, because that southeast well field is going to produce 12 MGDs, million gallons a day, and that would give, with the growth that we're having in East Polk, that would give each municipality some additional water to help offset the water that we're currently getting now. And it's going to cost, like they both said, it's going to be a cost. It's nothing going to be cheap. But I strongly encourage you once again that it's a commodity. We need that water, and when you see that water rate or anything goes up, don't blame the commissioners. It's something that the citizens need, and water is very important to Polk County. So I just want to let you know that it helps increase our million gallons a day per water and what we're currently getting. So support that once that come out, and don't criticize us, because we're doing what we have to do to make this county the best place to live, work, and raise your family. Thank you.
Mayor Fuller?
Yeah, in addition to what we've heard from Mayor Birdsong and Mayor Mutz and now Mayor West, if you don't understand how that's all working for you, I've been on that board now for just over a year, and talk about drinking out of the fire hose. That is actually what we're doing all of us that come on new especially, it's just incredible the amounts of money that it costs to go down. But we talk about the water lines that just take it from the southeast well field up to Davenport, and it's 60 or 70 miles of pipe. And if you think, you're driving down the road and you see the diggers and they're putting the pipe down about 12 feet, to get it down. Anybody have any idea how deep they have got to go to bring that water up, to get it cleaned up and to get it ready for an alternative source? We're going down over 8,000 feet deep. And if you, again, the numbers are incredible to each foot of pipe that takes to go down in the process. And again, Mayor Mutz, you probably have your finger better on the numbers, but it's incredible. And so again, this is where we need to get that kind of information out to the public. And it's going to be, they're not going to understand it totally, but when you tell me that you got to drill a hole 8,000 feet deep to bring water up to then pipe it to each of our cities to distribute, it is incredibly expensive. And as a board member with several of the folks up here, it's concerning. And I think we just better, start thinking now. It's time to start looking at our uses and our wastes, if we want to call it that. If your sprinkler time is a certain amount of time and certain number of days, stay within that. Don't, it's not an unlimited supply.
Thank you. Mayor LaCascia.
Okay. Again, I guess coming from New York, I come with a whole different idea about water because it was never a concern. But we have a lot of folks who come up to me and they say, well, what are we doing about water? I say, well, we have 55 to 58 inches of rain every year. We lose about 33 or 34 inches of rain from evaporation and runoff. So our only source of water is from about 12 inches of rain to supply the upper Floridian aquifer. So we're all on the PRWC, Polk Regional Water Co-op, and we have heard all about these different ways of things and what we're going to do. The argument I use for a lot of the folks, which gets them to understand a little bit about Florida and the water, that it only comes from the rain. I say, where did you live? They say, well, you come from the north, right? Yeah. Well, do you live above the Mason-Dixon line? Yeah. Do you have mountains? Yeah. Do you live there in the winter? Yeah. Does it snow in the winter? Oh, yeah, we get 10, 20 feet of snow. What happens when that snow melts up in those mountains? Where does it go? Oh, it comes down into our reservoirs. Oh, we don't have any of that here. So it keeps, they get quiet real quick and say, oh, where do we get our water? And then we talk about exactly what we're doing on the PRWC, and I've been on it for 13 years, and we're doing all the right things that we all talk about here, and we're all working together on it. So I just wanted to bring up the argument that I give a lot of folks about snow, because they don't understand it.
I'd like to add to that real quickly. That could be our problem, or problem solved with our traffic, is we can get it to snow here. In the winter, we won't be drawing all those people down here.
All right, we're not going to talk about controlling the weather. Let's move on from that topic right now. So I do want to pivot, because I don't want to just keep talking about how expensive our lives will become. But let's talk a little bit about revitalization. We've touched on quality of life and how important that is to our communities, and frankly, how important that is to you all as mayors of your community on ensuring that there is a heart, a soul, culture around the communities that you serve. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about revitalization efforts and community redevelopment agencies and things that you may be leveraging in your communities to really cement the culture of your communities. Mayor Hatch?
Yeah, thank you again. Mulberry has been, I think, a leader in CRA development. That's community redevelopment authority or agency or one of those words. But we've not using our regular tax money, using CRA money. Two things that are a couple things we've done is one is we completely redid the Mulberry's gym, GEM theater. Cost us about $2 million at no cost to the citizens other than CRA money. And we've also bought an old Badcock building. That's another sore subject too, is Badcocks. But, and redeveloped it into a food court, sort of like the joinery in Lakeland. And except the one in Mulberry is bigger than the joinery, by the way. Thank you. Ours is 14,000 square feet. And there's 7 vendors and a bar in there. And it's open, and it's really nice. Matter of fact, just as soon as I leave here, that's where I'm headed for lunch. And that cost the CRA, I think, about $4 million. And the city doesn't want to be in the restaurant business, don't get me wrong. And we're probably eventually one day going to sell that to somebody, just leave it at that. So, you know, we've also given money to residents. A resident, I remember recently, for putting solar in his house. We've also, a local, one of our restaurants, we have a barbecue restaurant on Highway 60. We've given him some money to add on to his restaurant. And CRAs are made to help revitalize your community. And that's what we've done. We're looking at, there's a couple that live in one section of town that's not as nice as others, and they're wanting to build a house. So we're going to help them with some of the impact fees. And if you think about it, it really doesn't cost the city a lot to help with that, because what happens is the CRA pays the impact fee, and then that money comes to the city. You know, you're taking it out of one pot and putting it in another, basically. So our city manager has seen this, and I really appreciate him for what he's done with that. And he's just really been a leader in the CRA area. And I've even heard from other cities, you know, they want to do what Mulberry is doing with this food court thing. So that's great. I'm happy that they're doing that. And if the people that run the CRA know what they're doing, they can do a lot for their city.
Thank you. Mayor Bogert.
Thank you. So one of the reasons this has become so prevalent in the last couple of years that the legislature has put forth legislation to eliminate CRAs altogether. And so as a mayor, one of the things I'd like to encourage, and I think we do it well here in Polk County, maybe not across the state, is to be smart as a city as to how we use that, to make sure it's things that taxpayers need and want. I know in the city of Auburndale, ours is mainly used for, in our CRA area for infrastructure improvements that actually bring and add value to our downtown area. You know, and an example, and it's not a joinery or the, what is it, Depot 303 or something like that, Mulberry, but to all my citizens out there that are listening, we have 5 new restaurants coming to downtown, so woohoo, I've been waiting for that for a while, for someone who eats out every day. But the other thing we need to do is to, again, and I think we've said this several times, is to educate our citizenry on how we use that money and what it's for and how it improves our economic development. Because I think one of the things so many, especially smaller cities, towns, municipalities have seen is such an improvement to their economic development within their area by utilizing these CRAs properly, from restaurants to bringing in small businesses and helping them to improve, to affordable housing is even being used for, to bring housing to people in the area. So I think that's something that we need to show them, and also as a city to educate our legislators on what we actually use that money for, because a lot of them don't know either. They hear the couple of horror stories around the state of using things, you're like, what on earth were they thinking? As a mayor, I say that as well. I was like, I totally understand why in their area they're not happy about that. So we need to do a better job of that as municipalities to do that. So, but because it's an amazing benefit to all cities who use it properly, especially for economic development.
Mayor Berrien.
Yeah, so down at the city of Fort Meade, we have one of the younger CRAs, and what we found is that the individuals, as we laid out different programs in the past, it was always attached to a matching type of grant, or you do this on the front end and then we will reimburse. And so we eliminated a lot of that to where we just are cutting out the middleman. You get your quotes, so on and so forth, and then you're able to get access to this money to then build up your business and or come in with a plan for some type of mom and pop style of restaurant. The city of Fort Meade, even though it's not in our historic downtown, will be also getting a bar style sit-in restaurant, and so we're excited about that. But we're also looking forward to the revitalization of our historic downtown, and where here in recent years we're a main street. And so with the revitalization and the economic development there in our Main Street corridor, hosting family-friendly events, bringing vendors in, looking to set up, create a corridor where we're able to bring in those what are those vendors that have the food?
Food trucks. Food trucks,
Thank you.
yeah.
Food trucks. Yeah.
We don't have them, I don't know.
Oh, you guys don't have them. So trying to identify that space to where food trucks can come and set up and sell and provide that family-friendly night out. And so Fort Meade is really proud to be able to take on this with the CRA, grow with our CRA, and utilize those funds, as Dorothea said, in a smart way, so that it's not a sore eye in the eye of the state as to what we're using those funds for. So we're looking forward to see what businesses come as a result of the way we've structured our program, and we will be rolling it out October 1st.
Very good. Mm-hmm. Mayor Birdsong.
Yes, well. How much time I have?
3 minutes.
Put me on the clock? Okay, all right, we're on the clock. Well, CRA has been really great to the city of Winter Haven. And I've had the great fortune to have been on the commission the entire time of the establishment of the CRA. And I also have lived in Winter Haven, born and raised there, been there over 50 plus years. I'll leave it at that. So I've seen the transformation that has been made as a result of the CRA funding. In Winter Haven, up until recently, there hadn't been any living spaces in downtown Winter Haven for over 60 years. All the properties were old properties. We have, thanks to the CRA and 610 Corporation, we have housing developed in downtown Winter Haven. We have businesses, we have shops. I mean, it has been a great, 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 great builder of economic development in downtown Winter Haven. And if you get economic development in your downtown, that spurs economic development all around. And so for another time, I've got some other things I want to say, but since I'm on the clock, I'm going to leave it at the fact that CRAs for the city of Winter Haven have been really, really great. And if the legislature had passed the legislation that they were talking about, our CRAs, we have two, would sunset in, I think, the year 2031 or 2030. So CRAs, they are doing in Winter Haven what they were designed to do. And I've heard some horror stories about how some of the funding has taken place in other CRAs, but I'm not going to even mention that. But I'm going to end it with that.
All right, thank you, Mayor Birdsong. Mayor Mutz.
I look at, my introduction to the city was through the CRA when Tamara Sakagawa was our initial CRA director, who is with Polk State today. And so I was initially involved in the creation and acquisition of many of the very blighted properties, which we have used it super effectively. I would say we are one of the model CRA cities in the state in terms of utilization of fund and intentionality. We've grown things that created not only businesses and housing areas of growth that wouldn't have happened otherwise, but even entities like the Well, which has helped us to be able to produce more community engagement. And so I look at the CRA as a catalyst for the community to help you get started on things where the Chamber of Commerce then can come alongside and help strengthen some of those growing businesses where we have entrepreneurial opportunities with Catapult to be able to help create new businesses and help sustain them. And where we can do things even more broadly, like Citrus Connection, to figure out how do we connect some of these things together within the city, because we actually use some of our funds from the CRA in the Citrus Connection arena as well. And in the process of that, we're working on creating culture in Lakeland that honors everyone. And I think Polk County at large works to do that too. But if you want to be distinctively different a decade from now than the rest of the country, then you focus on how do we honor everyone. And you use all the catalyst opportunities you have and then the associated organizations that can help assist that lift to do it in a way where people feel heard, where needs are being met, and in some of the more disparate and neglected areas of the city as you go along in that process. And so to me, that has been one of the excitements of what the CRA has been able to help us accomplish.
Mayor Decker.
So with the city of Bartow, we have a fantastic CRA director, Howard Smith. He has come to us with some very out-of-the-box thinking with CRAs and what they can do. I'll just talk quickly about one of our recent projects. Is we are actually putting in public restrooms throughout the city where we have events. One that will be an economic driver to encourage people to come downtown, stay downtown, enjoy the festivals. We're hoping it will also encourage additional festivals, farmers market, sci-fi, blooming arts. You know, we're like the city of festivals, I think. But those people come, they spend money in our city, they stay. You know, we don't have porta potties all over the city. We have nice restroom facilities, and you wouldn't think that that's a big deal, but for a lot of people it is. I'm sorry, I just lost my thought.
No,
but anyway, but yes, a restroom being an economic driver, you'd never think of that, but it is allowing us to market our city to other events and things. We want people to come, we want you to spend your money, and then go home.
Yes. Well, there has been a very concerted
And
effort
flush.
in the, yeah, and flush, yeah.
And flush,
And
exactly.
courteous bathroom. But there has been a concerted effort in the Bartow area for a number of years to really drive people into the downtown core. And you have
Correct.
been very creative with your events, especially the sci-fi event, to bring something that's unique and honors everyone, because there are a lot of people that love to dress up in sci-fi costumes as well and come downtown. So thank you for your efforts on that as well. Mayor Fuller, and we'll move on.
Briefly to add to the success stories that we've just heard, Lake Alfred was very instrumental in helping several different cases. We had a church in town that we had a CRA grant go to. Our Central Playground, Central Park Playground was partially funded by CRA dollars. Downtown businesses, a couple places just needed parking lots, things like that. Lake Alfred is not blessed with a lot of places to eat locally. We have a luncheon and breakfast, but we didn't have a dinner place just until recently. Now we can probably walk to 2 or 3 of them, from one to the other. If one's full, down the street's another. Dorothea and I had a lunch the other day at one of our newer restaurants here in town. But most proud of the fact that Lake Alfred received from the Florida League of Mayors at our last annual meeting a Quality of Life Award for the use of our CRA funds. So it's just, when you talk about blighted properties, you think of something that's torn down or just uninhabitable, and that's not necessarily the case. What it is, again, is to revitalize to where your downtown business area is something that people are going to be interested to come and visit. And I think that's what we've been able to use those dollars for. We go every other year, we do residential and commercial. So anyway, we've been a great supporter and beneficiary of that.
Excellent. Mayor West?
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to share a little light on CRAs. CRAs was created for red line areas. That means the red line area where people could not go in and get a loan from a bank. So they created the CRA many years ago, and it was mainly for the blighted area. But CRAs has now extended more than a blighted area, like my counterparts are saying, and then they've covered different areas. Haines City has 2 CRAs, and I can tell you our residential rehab program of our CRA has been fantastic, because what that program does, it goes into these elderly folks' home, or even some younger ones, or some disabled people that we realize that needed some assistance in their home. Their roof is caving in. They just don't have the insurance. They don't have the money to repair a roof. They're sitting in a home and it's 105 degrees outside. They don't even have a ceiling fan or air conditioning. So our residential rehab program came in and did a fantastic job, and we've done over 70 homes as of now are slated to do for CRA to help with these residential rehab. And I think it's a very necessity. Haines City CRA sunsets in 2031. The state sunsets in CRA is 2045. I strongly encourage the county that if we can continue our CRA until 2045 when it finally sunset. But every municipality, if they can, need to get a part of this CRA to help their communities. And thank you.
Thank you. So taking the thread of housing, affordable housing has obviously been an important issue that this panel has discussed over the years and can include a lot of challenges, whether that be property insurance that we talked about and that creating pressures of affordability, housing diversity, Mayor Mutz talked about in terms of putting more multifamily, and then of course, homelessness. And so a question from the audience is, what specific strategies or initiatives have been successful in your communities on helping the unhoused?
Well, I can tell you that in Haines City, that we're looking at a place called Trinity Villages. And Trinity Village is actually, it's a land that's owned by a local pastor who's actually taking this land and converting that over into affordable community living, which I would say like condos, because Haines City is one of the cities that probably doesn't have a lot of community living. So he's gonna take that land, and it's gonna be a 62 and older community because we realize that there's a lot of homeless folks that doesn't have a place to live, work, you know, in our city. So with Trinity Village, matter of fact, they're closing on their property today, and we're going to be doing a groundbreaking. Within the next year or two, we'll have several community living for our citizens in called Trinity Villages. So we are being proactive, and we don't want no one person homeless sleeping under a bridge. We want somebody, someplace to stay, and we're going to continue to do that and do affordable houses. The sad thing is with affordable houses, what is affordable? Because we realize that our teachers and our police officers and our firefighters can't even live in the city that they work because there is not affordable housing. So with these affordable housing, I think it's imperative that we have somewhere we can keep our teachers local, we can keep our firefighters and police officers local, you know. So we're being proactive, the city of Haines City, and I encourage all of y'all to try to get on board, to try to get some affordable homes in your community. Thank you.
Mayor Fuller, were you wanting to address this one? No, okay.
I was just agreeing with.
So I think oh, go ahead, Mayor Birdsong.
Well, maybe I've been talking too much. Well, with affordable housing and homelessness, it's just not a city of Winter Haven problem, a Polk County problem, state of Florida problem. It's a United States of America problem. And we have tried, and we are continuing to try, to impact on that particular problem. Affordable housing, one of the things that we've done is on an annual basis in our budget, we provide monies to what we have established as a trust fund. Affordable housing, which are tax credits types of housing, in order to sort of win those tax credits, developers, they need contributions from municipalities. And so we have been able to make some contributions, almost $500,000 to one project that built 97 units that basically had 3,800 applications for 97 units. That tells you the need. So we do have monies in a trust fund that we are hopeful that other affordable housing units will be built. In addition to that, with specifically for the homelessness and high school students that are homeless, we're trying to, have been for the last few years, trying to work on eliminating homelessness among high school students in the greater Winter Haven area. And so we fund on an annual basis a nonprofit, Heart for Winter Haven, that specifically is tasked with trying to help keep homelessness from occurring and assist people that have become homeless. So, I mean, it's a work in progress. It's not going to be solved overnight, but we can't give up. We got to continue to work towards solving the problem of homelessness. And one final thing is that, you know, the state legislature has passed a ruling as it relates to homelessness people on public lands. And so the problem is really, really excavating. And so we've got to continue to work towards solving the problem of homelessness. And as municipalities, if we can all come and do our share, it'll help. Thanks.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point, Mayor Birdsong, on that the responsibility doesn't solely lie with those around the table, your commissions, your cities, but the community partners, the wonderful community partners that we have in Polk County that are expanding their services. I think, was it Talbot House has
Talbot
come
House.
into Winter Haven.
Yes.
And many of the services, Lakeland Regional and their behavioral health, Harold's Family Center for Behavioral Health, and what they're doing to address mental health in that realm. There are a lot of community partners out there hoping to address this issue in many different ways. And so even just keeping yourselves and your constituents educated about what those efforts are in the community without the responsibility solely lying on the backs of government to address this issue. which
Katie,
is
I
great.
really would like to mention one other unique project that, as it relates to homelessness, it's the only one in Polk County, and it's called Jersey Commons, and it's a lot of homelessness people have mental health issues as well. And so with Central Florida Healthcare and other agencies, it's been built in Auburndale. Well, it's not really Auburndale. It's unincorporated Polk County. Oh, you've already annexed it? Oh, we were coming. But at any rate, it's a one-of-a-kind facility in Polk County, and I understand that there are some facilities like those over in Sarasota. So we're just happy to have them there. And so they're working with individuals that have mental health problems and are homeless, because it's hard to get a mental health person to not to become homeless and to stay not becoming homeless, because they need other services as well. So it's really great. So I needed to just mention that.
Yes, thank you.
I was going to mention that, but thank you for bringing up that facility in Auburndale. But one thing, we talk about affordable housing, and I watch the legislature a lot, and I've been up there numerous times on behalf of the Florida League of Cities. And there's been legislature that keeps coming forward about affordable housing. So I think one of the things that we need to make sure as citizens and as commissioners, when this comes before the legislature, which I think it's a great idea, it provides developers tax breaks and a lot of different things. But one of the trends I was noticing was, that it had to be 70% affordable type of thing. And I think there was one that came out last year that one unit out of whatever many they had to be affordable. And that's not really, to me, workforce housing or affordable housing. That it needs to be, or they only had to be at that rent rate for 5 years. I think if we're going to work to build affordable and workforce housing within our communities, that we need to ensure that it's going to be something that is a long-term commitment. That it's going to, the rental rates are going to, and some of those rental rates like 120% above the median. So I know, quite frankly, I think, and I'm in real estate. I'm a real estate broker. That getting a 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $2,100 a month is not considered affordable to me. So those are things that, and it varies around, or they only have to keep it in, and so they build it. Or they don't even take the tax credit; they just build it and then they convert it back to high rent housing. So it's something to keep in mind as those things come for legislature, as commissioners and mayors, that we make sure that we want that workforce housing. We want our teachers to live in our community. We want our law enforcement officers to live in our community. So let's make sure we can maintain that they can continue to do that, because once they're there 5 years and then they have to move because they can no longer afford it.
So when we talk about creating opportunity for our citizens, economic development is obviously a big topic of conversation, and job creation. Part of what, if you ask Gary Ralston and his economic data, part of what creates traffic on our roads is if we have a lot of people on I-4 driving to Tampa and Orlando for employment versus being able to retain them within the county. So I am curious from, an economic development perspective. Tom Phillips and I were talking before we started. The Citrus Connection, thankfully, just got a grant to extend their service on 5 lines to help with second shift workers, because over 70% of the folks that ride the Citrus Connection are using it for an employment. So that's a great initiative of the Citrus Connection to help facilitate people to be able to get employment. I'm curious, in your communities, is there anything that you are doing from a commission perspective to aid in job creation?
Yeah, I think, it's like with our EDC, I mean, it's all about jobs. People's got to have, decent jobs that want to come here and live here and pay. We see a lot of companies coming now, wanting to come to Polk County because the face of Polk County is changing. So I see it all over the county. We need just not warehouses. We need, jobs that a lot of people work in, that are good paying jobs. And I've been seeing that happening. And so if you got, we always talk about people living in Polk County and working in Tampa and Orlando. But, at one point in time, that's where the good paying jobs were. But we are turning that around, and things are getting better at that. And it's just making everything work to be able to attract these, attract these companies here. We got the best place in the country to live. We got beaches up and down on our sides of our coast. We got beautiful weather. We got a lot of people now, and there's a lot of good companies moving here. Some of the high techs coming here. So, I mean, that's what we got to have. You got to have good paying jobs. And that's a big change for Polk County, what we've seen in the last 20 years.
Yes. Mayor Berrien and then Mayor Bogert.
Well, coming from little small Fort Meade, what we're trying, initiative that I started as the mayor is focusing on small businesses. Here recently, we conducted what I call a small business network session, partnering with Citizens Bank and Trust there in Fort Meade. As Citizens Bank and Trust is the only financial institution in Fort Meade, I felt that it was necessary to put these small business owners before them so that we can hear what they have to offer and then create those type of conversations. What I've come to experience is a lot of individuals who desire to have a small business just simply don't know where to go for resources. And so we had a successful meeting. It was a first meeting, but we did it with the mindset of if we can really cultivate the small business effort in Fort Meade, that will create additional jobs there, and then further strengthen that partnership between Citizens Bank and Trust so that they'll know that, we have a core contingency of people that need the tools that they provide and their products. And so not only that, but to give them a place to go to where they could get access to capital for their machinery or whatever it is that they're trying to do. So we're focusing on growing that community as a single initiative and hoping as we become more attractive countywide that we will be able to bring in. There's an initiative that is before us. I'm not at liberty to discuss. However, it has the ability to really impact us economically and create additional jobs. So things are looking up for Fort Meade, and I just want to continue to promote that, continue to show up at events like this, because my grandmother always said, if a squeaky wheel get greased. And so we're trying to get greased down there in Fort Meade. Thank you.
So I do want to give a quick shout out to one of the things I think that we do really well here, to the CFDC. And I saw Sean a little bit earlier. I don't know if he's still here, but they've done a great job of bringing these great industries into Polk County. And Auburndale's part of the Innovation District. And that is something that we've been working really hard as a commission, is to make sure when we do, these industrial developments and things like that, that we ensure that it meets the parameters of that innovation district, not just warehouses, but research and development and things along that line that will bring high-paying, high-wage jobs into Polk County. And also, I'm on the Talent Vision pipeline for Polk Vision, the talent pipeline, and we want to keep our treasures here, which are our children, and as they go off to college. And Florida Poly, I think, was just named best valued university in the Southeast region, I think was the thing. It might have even been bigger than that. So we have this amazing, internationally recognized STEM university, as well as our other higher education institutions here that, we want to keep them here. So we have to bring those in. And I think working together, because Lakeland's part of the innovation and the county as well, to bring these incredible groups. And I know that CFDC has worked really, really hard to do that. And I mean, we have the Sun Tracks. I've just heard recently, again, not at liberty to disclose of some things that's going to be a really extraordinary addition to that. And the growth of Long Pace Road of the Innovation District with research and development type of situation. So I think that is something that will be helpful in keeping everyone here and wanting them to stay here instead of moving out.
Thank you. Mayor Mutz.
Jobs pay the bills.
That's right.
And make everything else work. And so we always want to make certain that we are working on economic growth, and the EDCs throughout the county are doing that, and that's a wonderful opportunity. We should also applaud our universities. Florida Poly was rated #1 and is the only STEM school by U.S. News and World Report, by the way, for value in public institutions in the South. And when you think of STEM schools, there's one in Florida, and that is Florida Poly. And then our other colleges that we have here are remarkable in terms of creating opportunities for jobs and new professions and careers, computer hacking, all the kinds of things that we need to also be able to work on as we get better on the AI side as well. And so when we think about these things, we want to make certain that we are appreciating and attracting the kinds of companies we want to have, that we also in our minds think about what's appropriate for our market, what's the best kind of fit for the people that live in our city, and make certain that we leave a welcome mat out for those opportunities.
Yes, and thank you for calling out our university system. We are very blessed in Polk County to have the colleges and universities that we have here. You know, as someone now in healthcare, I see our Advent Health leadership team out here as well. The investment that we all as private businesses can commit to supporting those colleges, universities to help build that pipeline. To all the businesses that are here in the room, ask yourself, what am I doing to help support the pipeline by working with our universities, with our high schools, and really adopting the schools in our area to do that, because that certainly is one of the best things we can do to continue to build the pipeline. So we are in election season, as you all know, for local municipalities, and now is the time we're after the closing of the applications to run, and so now when we start to hear all about the campaign promises and the conversation around what people's hopes and dreams are for if they were to get elected. So I'm going to ask you all a question. When you were running, what most surprised you about what you thought this job would be, or what you thought you would be able to do in this position, both positively and negatively, and when you got in, it kind of surprised you? And so I'm actually going to start, I'll start with Commissioner Coffey, because she's at the end, and tell us a little bit about that thought for you.
I think the thing that surprised me the most was the need for education to our residents of what we actually have control of and don't have control of, and what we can and can't do. And as was touched on earlier, what things do fund. The property taxes aren't just about your property. The school taxes aren't just about if you have a school-aged child. And with Davenport in particular, how many people didn't realize that the difference between inside the city limits and outside the city limits? We have a tremendous number of people, well, not tremendous, but proportionately, that show up to vote on election day that can't vote because, yeah, their address says Davenport, but they're actually unincorporated Davenport or even Haines City, because of our wacky lines up there. So, it's been enlightening to me to talk to those residents and learn more and to just try to, explain the process. It's been great to see people come to our commission meetings and be, passionate about whatever they're upset about or whatever they're happy about, but then to in turn have to, explain to them, well, that's not exactly how it works, and go through that process. That's one of the things that we're trying to really work on is educating our residents more as to, being more active, being more involved, and knowing more what we can do so that they can give us feedback as to what we can do to better serve them.
Mayor Hutto, I'm going to call on you.
For me, I think when I got elected, I was a business owner at the time, so I thought it couldn't be anything harder than that until I got on city council. But I think surprised me the most is even though you got 5 or 6 people up there trying to put their own fingerprint or thumbprint on the situation, I think the common goal is for the entire city. And it's hard to recognize that at first because not being on the council or in an elected position, you hear things in the city and you just think automatically negative about it. So for me, it was becoming educated about the whole political system and the city councilman and the government, and just kind of figuring out what else other people wanted to do. They didn't want to change the whole program or the whole city. They just, everybody wants to put their little touch on there. And negatively for me is just, I got to learn that you can't make everybody happy. And that's the big thing when you first get on there. You, like you say, campaign promises, you would have to run all year long and then probably a little bit longer and create a list and carry it to the polls with you and say, I remember I promised you this, so I'm going to take care of that. It's just a difficult situation. So I just think staying true to yourself and figuring out what you want to do and just not put your whole hand on it, but just your fingerprint is what I took the most from it.
Thank you. Chair Wilson.
Yeah, I think right after I got elected, I didn't realize or didn't know just how many people in Polk County didn't like me. And I didn't have that problem before I got elected, And so everything was my fault that was going on in Polk County. So, but this Polk County, as being a commissioner in Polk County, it's a pretty big undertaking, and I know the municipalities are too. We've all got our own little worlds that we're in, our big worlds, and I think we've hit on a little bit. You can't help everybody. What gets me in a bigger situation like Polk County, there's a lot of things that I have been able to do that I've been able to help people, and they really appreciate it. And if they hadn't got a hold of me or got a hold of our staff, it wouldn't have happened. And there's so many that slips through the cracks on that, I think. Just the normal person trying to get something done. And in some situations, and we try to make it better, but in some situations it's tough, to get things done. And, but that's what, I've really enjoyed doing is helping people and trying to make this county better. We live, like I said earlier, I sound like a broken record, we live in a great county. And it's just, but on top of that, not only is a lot of hard work to keep it going, you got to have great people, and we do on our board and on our staff. It's a lot of hard work, but that's the biggest thing is just, you can't make everybody happy, and I wish we could, but on the thing about it is it changes every day, the problems, but that's what we're here for, and we got big shoulders, don't we? And we'll do what we can to make things better.
Mayor Tucker.
I think I actually bring a very unique perspective in the sense that I've worked for Polk County government for 26 years before becoming an elected official for the city of Bartow. So that has brought me a great deal of knowledge of how both sides work, working for the government and directing government. So I would say nothing really surprised me when I got in there. It was kind of expected because I've dealt with it the whole time. I will say that it is, like you said, it is challenging. People think you can do things that you can't. I cannot make Chili's come to Bartow. I cannot do it. And it's very interesting to for people to have a perspective of what the city government can do and what they actually can't. And again, like others said, some people don't know if they even live in the city or the county. So that's a different aspect. But another thing, having the connections and resources of experience with county government and bringing that to the city, I think that's actually helped our residents facilitate relationships and help build our community.
Very good. Mayor West, were you wanting to comment?
Thank you once again. The biggest surprise is that, and I think Davenport said it, but mainly that, the decisions that we have to make and educate our community, and I can say this here, what surprised me is that the citizens don't understand that, it takes 3 votes to carry any ordinance or anything that's gonna carry, but they think that one commissioner can change the world, and that doesn't happen in today's world. And that's been the biggest surprise with me, that trying to educate them. Listen, it's just not, if I vote yay and then someone else, the other 4 vote no, then they say, why it didn't pass? That's when you got to educate them, because it takes 3 votes. But nevertheless, and knowing your boundaries, knowing your city limits, and a lot of the community don't know, we get blamed for everything, that I said earlier, everything. And that's the problem that citizens don't understand, that a lot of the things that we can't do because the state statute supersedes any city ordinance. And they say, well, why can't we do it here locally? Because there is a statute, and that's why we can't do it. But it's been a challenge, and especially for me, coming from a law enforcement perspective, and then converting over to, a city council member. My brother doesn't even know where he lives and where he votes, because he has a Davenport address, but he lives in Haines City. So it's been very confusing, and he served on the commission for 20 years, and he's still going to the wrong location. But just kidding. But, it's very confusing up in that area there. I don't know why. I think that because they just drew a line and said, Davenport, you here in Haines City. But it's kind of confusing. So we have to educate our citizens. We have subdivision, half of the subdivision in Davenport and other half in Haines City in the same subdivision. So we just got to educate our community. Thank you so much.
Yes, excellent. Mayor Fuller, and then Mayor Hatch.
I really didn't retire in 2018 to come looking for a job working for a municipality. But having worked in customer service for 41 years for a major insurance company, I thought, well, customer service and public service, it should just go right along hand in hand. And it does for a while, and then it doesn't. And, so you come in here with all the great intentions of what I wanted to see or what I heard of or what I saw about living in Lake Alfred. We moved back here. I did 12 years of my 41 living in Winter Haven, but we moved 10 times in 41 years. But I really felt like, this is where I want to grow up. This is where this is my last move. 10 times is enough. The 11th one is going to be in the back of a big hearse. Yeah, there you go. But anyway, I just, everything that we see has been pretty positive, but like some have said, they think you save the world, your email address is published, and you get stuff all the way from a dog pooped in my yard and the neighbors won't pick it up to, I just got one, they got a speeding ticket coming through in our main drag through town, which is 6 lanes wide, and it's leading to an elementary school. And we have a speed camera set up there that is on school hours, and the first month we wrote 15,600 tickets just during that, which, you know, it's not a speed, it's going to catch you if you're speeding, but it's not set up to be a trap. It's set up to say, slow down. We got these kids crossing, we've got PSC, or Polk County sheriff's officers and volunteers, and everybody's stretched so thin that you can't make it all happen. So you get people mad. Well, we reduce that 15.6 to 11 to 7, and so it's doing its job. And but the one thing I kind of really would love to see and have a supporting effect is we're drawing new people. Every one of us is drawing new people, young families. And young families have young kids going to school, and we really need to hopefully be able to put them in good schools that's got good teachers and got easy places to get in and out of, and we're stretched to our limit in Lake Alfred with that. We've got one Lake Alfred Elementary where all those kids are coming across 6 lanes of traffic. Was built for about 560 people, and we're over 1,100 now. We got 19 portables. That's hard to express, and our heavy traffic areas are those 15 or 20 minutes before and after kids come to school or go home. But that's the biggest complaint in a commission meeting, or the emails I get, or the anonymous people shoot at you on social media. And there's only so much you can do, but I can just ask the folks here just again to realize that these kids need a good place to go, and they need a safe place to go to school. And I would ask that we just be patient, because that growth is coming, but we need to keep those kids in mind that they're our biggest investment and our biggest value.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel. I'm loving it. Never thought that this was how I'd end up being, but I love doing it. I love serving our city. I love serving this county, and I love serving our state. I've had an opportunity to work at those levels. So, thank you again very much.
Thank you. Mayor LaCascia.
Before we wrap this up, I just want to thank you for undertaking this task. It's not easy. Was it taking care of 17 mayors? Well, not Birdsong accepted, of course. But I mean, it's more like it's about as difficult as herding cats. So you did a great job, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
So as our time together is drawing to a close, I want to thank all of you who tuned in today through the streaming on PGTV. That's my alarm going off to close it, so I'm right on time. There you go. And I thank those members of the audience that were able to stick with us today. I hope that you found this discussion informative and valuable use of your time. Thank you again to our host, Polk State College Center for Public Safety, and our Leadership Exchange Series sponsors, Advent Health, Citizens Bank and Trust, and Tampa Electric. Thank you to the Polk County Mayors and our BoCC chair who were able to join us this morning, and a big thank you to the team at PGTV again, and our staff at Polk Vision, Amy Nickerson, Anna Saavedra, Tara Watson, and Kim Long. Thank you so much for your help putting this event together. Yay. I hope that you all walk away inspired by the leadership that we have around the table today, inspired to get involved. A lot of us talked about educating our communities that we serve, but a lot of that comes from you in the audience today that now have absorbed a lot of knowledge over the last 2+ hours and being able to share the effective work that's being done in this community. So thank you all for sharing the vision and helping to support the future of Polk County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care of that hand.